food that they sold. But their chicken, we ordered that from Taiwan. It's a flight of chicken. The Americans all like chicken that have real color to it. It's not Chinese chicken, it's white chicken. Yeah. He was, he grew up in communist, he grew up in China as a communist refugee. And literally his parents packed him up and sent him out of China with enough cash to get started. Initially in Korea, and then he went to really what's heavy from the soul cash that. I'll tell them a little a long time ago. West Side. And I asked Peter, I said, there, I haven't been down many hours a week in work. He looked at it, was there. You can't do that. So we eventually put down 2 hours. That probably was not. Yeah. You really have to respect that. And you know, even though they don't live here, I still live there legally.
Really? That's loyalty.
At least I did it for it's not South Carolina.
Yeah. Good to hear that. Oh, yeah.
When I walk through Victoria Station, I just noticed that whoever owns it
That's too bad.
yeah, because Russell's always very good, having everything immaculate, garden and great.
Yep. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I won't tell him,
Yeah.
because that would make him unhappy. They miss Oconee County.
Yeah.
All right, 6 o'clock, we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. Welcome to Oconee County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is Tuesday, April 28th. Social distancing protocols are active and we're limiting the occupancy of the room to 10 people. Hopefully you join us from your computer or smart device to participate in the meeting. To comment or ask a question during the public comment portions of the meeting, please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom. From a computer, click on participants icon at the bottom of the screen, then click raise hand. From a mobile device, tap the raise hand button at the bottom of the screen. If you raise your hand prior to the public comment section being opened, it may cause issues with you being recognized. Also, no items will go on the consent agenda to provide additional time to receive public comments. Just a moment, we'll ask you to stand for a moment of silence, and after that moment of silence, we'll ask Daniel Haygood to lead us in the pledge. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first item of business is to adopt the agenda. I would like to ask for one amendment. I'd like to add under countywide matters under number 5, discussion, consider tabling the following or postponing the following variance request hearings until June 2nd, 2020. And that will be P20-0035, which is DGDF Holdings LLC on Cliff Dawson Road, 20-0053, which is John and Angie Howell on Julian Drive.
I'll make that motion with the amendment.
Second.
We have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is a statement and remarks from citizens. If any citizens are joining us online, they can raise their hand at this point for any comments. If anybody in the audience would like to say anything. Good. All right. Now we'll hear statements and remarks from commissioners.
None from me.
I'm good.
Do want to run through just a few things right quick. The Georgia's public health state of emergency continues through May 13th, 2020. Also, Governor Kemp issued an executive order 4.23.20.02, providing guidance for reviving a healthy Georgia in response to COVID-19. That was issued last week. Under that order, all residents and visitors of Georgia shall practice social distancing. All residents and visitors shall practice sanitation guidelines of the CDC. No business establishment, corporation, nonprofit corporation, organization, or county or municipal government shall allow gatherings of 10 or more people where all persons cannot maintain at least 6 feet of distance. Shelter in place is required through May 13th for the following people: 65 and older, persons living in a nursing home or long-term care, inpatient hospice, assisted living communities, personal care homes, and intermediate care homes. Also, persons with chronic lung disease, persons with moderate to severe asthma, persons with severe heart disease, persons who are immune compromised, persons of any age with class 3 or severe obesity, persons with underlying medical conditions such as diabetes, liver disease, chronic kidney disease, undergoing dialysis. Restaurants are allowed to offer dine-in service under 39 conditions. Pools, performance venues, operators of amusement rides, and bars shall remain closed to the public. Gyms and fitness centers may open with conditions such as no group classes, no in-facility childcare services, and they must close access to pools, basketball courts, other group sports areas. Movie theaters may open with conditions as well. The full order is available on our website at oconeecounty.com. Oconee County will remain under our current public closure protocols through May 13th. And over the next 2 weeks, we will be bringing our employees back with the goal of being under normal operating conditions by May 14th. This process will be phased in and subject to changes based on conditions. We will continue monitoring conditions and may need to adjust based on data and medical recommendations. We also want to reiterate that citizens can continue to do just about any business necessary with the county, either through the website, phone calls, or email. Our Parks and Rec team is also working on a phased reopening of parks. Once the schedule is finalized, we'll provide notice to our citizens. Again, the schedule is subject to change and based on conditions and compliance. Also want to announce that on Thursday of this week, April 30th at 6 p.m., we'll have another SPLOST virtual town hall meeting. So look forward to having you join us at that time. With that, our first item under budget is presentation of the FY21 budget request. Wes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pleased to give you a snapshot of some recommendations for the FY20 general fund, FY21 general fund budget. So commissioners, I have placed before you a rough draft of the recommendations. This is basically what I'm pitching tonight is on the expenditure side. On the revenue side, what we'd like to do is a whole nother month of data, or even a few more weeks of data will be very valuable to project out what we're going to see in FY21. So we're still working on that. There's been a considerable amount of work on the revenue already. We would just like to refine that. So what you're looking at before you there is the recommended budget on the expenditure side. So just a couple of highlights for the FY21. Again, this process has been going on since February with a lot of director and constitutional officer input. That requested overall general fund budget was $32,416,736. Now, those requests were made prior to our current COVID situation. So I'm sure that request would have been a little different than that if that hadn't happened. So that happened midstream. The budget overall general fund recommendation is $31,601,000. That budget includes no new full-time positions, no cost of living increase, and no step increase. Some major drivers of the budget, things that maybe have changed since the FY20 budget. Healthcare insurance premiums, we expect an increase there. Those negotiations are ongoing as to what that exact increase will be. Additionally, mobile data terminals, MDTs, there's a non-cash expense that we have to absorb for $276,000, and those are the laptops that go in the deputies' vehicles. And then the third driver is the state mandated election criteria. We're still wading through that. There's a lot of change going on, and it's significant cost up to 6 figures, and it could be more. So we're still waiting through those requirements, but those are coming in almost weekly. I'm not going to bore you with all the details. There are so many line items in this budget, but we feel comfortable with the budget as it's been recommended, that we can achieve these and achieve this budget and fund this budget in the future. We're still working on other areas like the SPLOST project and the enterprise fund, but tonight this one has been vetted out, and we look forward to your input and your comments as we move forward for our next milestone date, for our first public hearing, and that's going to be May 19th at 5:30 p.m. So that'll be our first public hearing. At that hearing is where we will have this budget balanced out with revenues and expenditures. Right now, you're just looking at one side of the equation. But I am confident that when I come back for you in a couple of weeks, we'll have this budget balanced out.
You said that's on the 19th?
Yes.
So typically we have a meeting before this and kind of go through a lot more detail.
Yeah.
Lots changed. So if you can just skim over if anything pops out to you, and then we'll be working over the next couple of weeks to get you some more detail on what's happening and what recommendations are not getting funded and that type of thing. So this is more just a progress report on where we stand at this moment in time. So.
And it looks like the requested versus the recommended is pretty close on a lot of them. I can see that pretty quick going through it. I guess the only two that stick out to me and is just to ask the question about them is the coroner. That's a significant drop that he requested. So I want to make sure that I understand what's going on there. And I guess the other one, I guess the Parks and Rec, there's about a 500K difference.
Yep.
And that's the two
So-
that stick out the most.
All right,
to
so the
me.
coroner was a request for a vehicle.
Okay.
He wanted a vehicle upgrade. Right now, he's using, remember when the Lord and Stevens stopped
Right.
transport, they
Right.
allowed us to buy that. So he's requesting another vehicle. Our approach to that at this point is that's a small, it's part of the fleet and it's going to be rotated out just like any other light duty vehicle. So we'll deal with that as that ages out.
And I kind of thought it might be a vehicle. I just want to
Yes.
kind of confirm this again. That's what it
Very good.
was.
The Parks and Rec had a lot of the reserve study. She was putting everything in there that was showing in her reserve study. Some of that's going to be handled with the new SPLOST, and with the revenue started dropping, we just kind of trying to hold everything about where it was last year, unless there's something out of the ordinary that's happening. So that's what counted for that. We'll have some more detail once we get closer.
Okay. That was the two that stood out to me. Like I said, everything else looks pretty close. I mean, it was only an $800,000 difference between the requested and the recommended. So,
Mhm.
and one big chunk of that was the Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
So,
Anybody else with anything?
okay.
Okay. All right, cool. Thank you, Wes. All right, next item is to discuss the Board of Education, Oconee County Board of Commissioners Joint Use Agreement. I talked with Chairman Odom last week about this agreement. This is a 3-year agreement. It's been reviewed by the county attorney. Staff recommends approval of the agreement. Major changes in this is the fees from the previous agreements that we've had. Each board is allowed to charge an hourly facility use fee. The Board of Education will charge us their posted nonprofit rate with the following discounts. Year 1 would be 100% discount, so no charge. Year 2 would be a 50% discount off posted nonprofit schedule. And year 3 would be a 40% discount off posted nonprofit schedule. We will continue our policy of not charging the schools for use of county facilities. Lisa made a presentation of this last week. There's been really very few changes, or not last week, last month. So very few changes. We do want to thank Lisa. She spent a lot of time on this over the last few months, getting the details ironed out. So with that, we'll answer any questions if you have it. Okay. You can make public comment if you'd like to raise your hand at this time. Okay.
And just to make sure I understand, the supervision is not part of, we won't have to have supervision from the BOE for each event, right? That won't be a charged hour. If I'm not mistaken, is what Lisa said the last time?
Right. I think she's negotiated with staff on what, I think it's just the hourly rates for, because they provide staff there.
Basic equipment and use of the
Right.
field. I got you.
And if something gets torn up while we're there, we're
Understand
required
that.
to pay
Yeah,
for it.
understand that.
So that's kind of the swap off. So. All right, very well. We'll move to the next item, which is discuss the initial SPLOST 2021 potential projects. Justin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've had 2 town halls on SPLOST 21 projects, and so I don't want to necessarily regurgitate the exact same thing, but I would like to kind of just explain the timeline where we are right now. So we've had 2 town halls. We have a 3rd scheduled for Thursday. This is for additional public input. So right now we're still at the project formulation discussion portion of the process. Next stage will ultimately be winnowing it down to a settled on revenue number. So April 30th, you have the town hall. It's going to be the 3rd and final scheduled town hall at this point. On May 25th, we will discuss the SPLOST budget. We hope to have some general guide on revenue projections over the next 6 years, and then some cost estimates going forward. The next major milestone is June 2nd. That's where there's a scheduled meeting with the 4 mayors and the Board of Commissioners to discuss out of Board of Commissioners meeting. And then July 3rd is the earliest date at which the call for the election can be made. Currently, per timeline, we have it scheduled for July 28th to authorize the election. And with the election would occur at the November general election to have maximum participation available on it. Through this course, there's an intergovernmental agreement that's been circulated to the 4 municipalities, and the Board of Commissioners will discuss that in 2 agenda items. What that is essentially a cost share agreement between the county and the 4 municipalities as far as the SPLOST divvy of the revenue, and it is substantially similar to what you have in 2015, which would be a cost based on the population percentiles. So that's working its way through. The final number to go, I guess I'm getting ahead on the agenda item. But anyway, the final number is to ultimately figure on the final revenue, and then we'll have the population. So going through as far as the projects, as we discussed, the SPLOST is based on what we call general category buckets. So the first one is you have your general obligation debt, which is the OVP debt in front of you. The parks and recreation facilities, which is divided into new park facilities, land acquisition, and park renovations. The county facilities, which is divided into the animal services renovation phase 2, the library and administrative building, courthouse interior renovations, and then the general facilities renovations. Roads, streets, bridges, which is divided into road resurfacing, intersection operational improvements, bridge culverts, and signal upgrades. Water and sewer projects, which are divided into the water supply projects, the water plant collection system. Public safety, which is divided into fire rescue facilities and equipment, law enforcement vehicles, the technology facilities, which is the broadband project, and then the farmland preservation, historic scenic preservation, and finally, the final bucket would be the municipality share of the deviation. And the 4 municipalities are currently working on their own separate project list. Absent the city total, the current estimated projection right now is 78 million in projects. That is obviously infeasible based on what we anticipate collection over the next 6 years. So we will be winnowing down those projects to have something that fits prioritized within the anticipated 6-year revenue projection. But that's sort of the where we are right now on the SPLOST project. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
I don't have any questions. I'm just gonna make a statement. I think I asked the director of roads, our director, at the last meeting, if he would give me an estimate of those 71 miles that are in the more critical, what the cost would be. And I think if the number was somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 to 20, $21 million. But something the conversation went a little bit further, and I think everybody needs to understand is too, out of that 230 something miles that are in that middle category, there's a good chunk of those miles that are ready to step into the critical. So there's a lot of work needed on our roads.
We could absolutely take the entire revenue and put it into road resurfacing.
Or anybody in the online that wants to say anything can raise their hand at this point. Very good.
How about here? Anybody here?
Next item is discuss and consider qualifying fee for Board of Commissioners post 3 vacancy. We got Daniel down for that.
So the election to fill Commissioner Wilkes' spot would be held at November 3rd election. The Board of Elections has called it, and the Board of Commissioners has to set the qualifying fee, which is the 3% minimum salary paid to commissioners. So it works out $638.58. And just like y'all did back in January, you have to vote to set the fee.
good.
Not that you have any discretion over it, but you still have to vote.
Very good. All right, any questions of Daniel on that? Okay. Any public comment? No? Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the qualifying fee for that post at $638.58.
Second. Okay, we have a motion second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is discuss the intergovernmental agreement with cities regarding SPLOST 2021. Justin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the intergovernmental agreement referenced earlier that would have the revenue split on SPLOST 21 and how the revenues would be divided amongst the 4 municipalities and the county. In this case, it follows the path of the 2015 SPLOST, which is divvies it by population share. Currently, we utilize the 2010 census based on the current go forward. The 2010 is the one that would be in place following this. But essentially what it does, it sets out how distribution occurs, the percentiles, and then also some general obligation bond requirements due to the OVP and potential other projects. And so it's, again, substantially similar to what's been approved in the past. There's no immediate need to approve this, but ultimately we'll need to fill in the final revenue projection numbers. And then the June 2nd would be the date that's currently scheduled for a meeting with the mayors of the 4 cities. Happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Any questions on this?
No.
No. Very good. Any public comment from you? Thank you. All right, next item is discuss and consider postponing the variance request scheduled for next week until June 2nd. This will be for variance number P20-0035 and P20-0053. As we noted earlier, the governor has extended a shelter in place for certain populations through May 13th. So we don't feel it's proper to go ahead with a public meeting where certain segments of the population cannot attend the public meeting. So that's why we're asking for a motion and a vote to reschedule these to June 2nd. And then they'll do the proper advertising for that over the next few weeks. Any questions? Okay. Any public comment on that? Very good.
I make a motion, we postpone the variance request for next week until June 2nd.
Second. You have a motion second to postpone till June 2nd, P20-0035 and P20-0053. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. We do not have the need of an executive session, so
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
we are adjourned. Thank you very much for attending. See you Thursday night at 6.